Happy last day before you are off for 9 days. You do not want to take this home for homework. So follow along with what I do. I'm going to work through at least half of these, and then I want you to pause and do the questions that match the ones that I do. Rewatch it if you need to. And by the end of class, you should have this done. Go ahead and turn it into the box. Then you go home for spring break. Don't worry about school for a week and a half, and I will see you back here next Monday. All right, so at the top, 1 through 5, similar figures have congruent angles. So corresponding angles, the angles that match up, are the same, and the sides are in proportion. So if I look at angle M right here, I look for the angle that matches that or lines up with it on the other figure, which is right here. So I would say that angle M corresponds to angle J. So I want you to stop, and I want you to find angle L, which is right here, and I want you to tell me which angle corresponds with angle L. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and make sure that you label it. Notice how I labeled my angle with this angle sign right here. Okay, you should have numbers 1 and 2 filled out on your worksheet now. I'm going to move on to number 3, and I am going to take away all of the markings for angles, and now we are going to talk about the sides of a triangle. This indicates a line segment. So if you look over here, line segment JL is this piece right here, and it says that JL is 18. All it's asking for is what side corresponds, so which side of my bigger triangle on this one matches with side JL. Well, it's this one, and if you look, that goes from M to O, so that would be line segment MO. Make sure you put line segment above it. Now you go ahead and look at line segment MN, which is this one, and you go ahead and tell me what line segment matches that on the smaller triangle. Pause the video to complete number 4. And number 5 is asking for the ratio of the lengths of the corresponding sides. If you would match up your sides and write them as a ratio, like your big triangle to your small triangle, you could do this 3 different ways. First, I'm going to look at these 2 sides because they are corresponding. If I write those as a ratio is a fraction, it would be 24 over 18. You would want to simplify that. Or maybe you want to do 20 to 15. I'm going to write this one over here. So basically, make sure that you set up your ratio, which is a fraction, and then make sure that it's in simplest form. If I simplify 20 over 15, I can divide those both by 5. So that would be 4 over 3. I would want to make sure that it's the same for all of my sides. So I want to make sure that this one is the same too. 24 and 18 can both be divided by 6. So 24 divided by 6 is 4, and 18 divided by 6 is 3. And if you look, that's definitely a consistent ratio. So the ratio of my triangles is 4 to 3. Knowing that similar figures have congruent angles for corresponding angles and proportional sides for corresponding sides, now you can find missing pieces of similar figures. So first I'm going to do number 6. I would want to set up proportion because I know that sides are proportional. So my proportion that I would want to set up perhaps is maybe 5 is to 4. And here's X. This is what I'm looking for, and it goes with 4, so I want that on the bottom. And the piece that goes with that would be this one, so I would put 5 on the top. Well, 5 over 4, to get from 5 to 5, I multiply by 1. So 4 times 1 would give me a side length of 4. I'm going to go ahead and show you number 8, and then I want you to pause, and I'll tell you which one I want you to work through on your own. If you look at the rectangles on number 8, they are not facing the same way. And you would always want your short side to match up with the other short side. So if you need to turn your paper, or if you would ever need to cut out a shape and turn it so that you can see that they are in fact the same, you can do that. Or just know that 20 is the long side, and that would match up with 14 of your long side over there. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a proportion. The proportion that I'm going to set up is going to look like, I'm going to do my long side over my short side. So 20 over x, that's everything on my left rectangle. That's equal to my right rectangle, and 20 is my long side, so I would want my long side up on top. So I would put 14 over 6. From here, I'm going to use all of my strategies that I have to solve a proportion. Perhaps I look for an easy relationship. There is no easy relationship between 20 and 14. So then maybe I want to simplify this fraction and get 7 over 3. That still doesn't give me a nice easy relationship between 20 and 7. So then I am going to use cross products, and my cross products would give me 20 times 3 and 7 times x. 20 times 3 is 60, and 7 times x is 7x. Then I would just divide by 7 on both sides. And if I go do that division, 60 divided by 7, just go ahead and work out that decimal. 7 goes into 60 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. I subtract and get 4. Bring down my 0. 7 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. Bring down a 0. 7 goes into 50. 7 times. That is 49. Bring down another 0. Goes in 1 time. And as you can see, we have a decimal that goes on for a while. So we're just going to go ahead and round it, and we're going to say that this is x is 8.6. Okay, go ahead and stop, pause, rewind this, watch how I set up my proportions, and I want you to go ahead and work through number 7. All right, let me show you one more. I'm going to show you number 10. Again, we're talking about finding the missing side lengths, and sides on similar figures are in proportion. So I know that I'm going to have to set up a proportion. So I am going to set up my matching sides. This time I'm going to do 8 is to 5 because they sit in corresponding positions. Since 8 is on top, I need to put 4 on top over here, which means that I put x down here. If you look, there's a relationship here. To get from 8 to 4, you simply divide by 2. So you could take 5 and divide it by 2. If you have $5 and split it 2 ways, each person gets $2.50. So that would be 2.5. Or, again, you could use cross products. You could do 5 times 4, which is 20, and then divide that by 8, and you'll get 2.5 again. Go ahead and stop, and I would like you to try number 9. If you are stuck on number 9, let me help you get started. Decide which pieces match. If you look at this, 15 goes with 10. If you look at 20, that goes with the variable y. And if you look at x, you can see that that matches up with 8. Maybe that color coding will help you set up a proportion. To get you started, I have 2 of my blue values, so perhaps maybe I could start one of my proportions with 15 is to 10. Now, I could set up the other one. Maybe I want to solve for y. So I'm looking at these 2 pieces right here. Well, 15 goes with 20, so 20 needs to go on top, and y needs to go on the bottom. Then you would solve this proportion. If you need help getting set up for the green parts, again, you could use 15 over 10, and that matches with x, because x is on the same figure as 15, over 8. Take some time and solve that. And last but not least on this page, before I show you one of the story problems, go ahead and pause this video and try to set up and solve number 11 all on your own. Okay, story problems. I would always draw a picture so that this makes sense. Number 12. On a sunny day, if a 36-inch yardstick casts a 21-inch shadow, how tall is a building whose shadow is 168 feet? Well, if you think of a 36-inch yardstick, in order to cast a shadow, it's going to be pointing up. And you know that that is 36 inches tall. And shadows always show up on the ground. And that shadow is 21 inches. Well, it wants to know that if a building is 168 feet tall, how long is this shadow on the bottom? So you would set up a proportion, just making sure that pieces match. So perhaps you want to set up the proportion 36 over 21. You are doing this side to this side. So then for this one, you would want to do this side to this side. So that would be 168 over x. Now I would perhaps want to simplify if I can. You can divide these by 3, and over here you get 12 and 7. And maybe there's a nice relationship between 12 and 68. Might not be sure about that. So if you're not sure, go off to the side and see if you could divide it, or see if 168 is a multiple of 12. But if all else fails, you always know that you can do cross products. So you can do 12 times x. I'm going to work up here in the corner. 12x is equal to 168 times 7. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 5 is 47. And 7 times 1 plus 4 is 11. So 1176. My last step to get x by itself would be divide by 12. I'm going to grab a different color here so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I have 1176 divided by 7. Nope, sorry, I am dividing that by 12. 12 can't go into 1. It can't go into 11. It can go into 117 9 times. 9 times 12 is 108. So 117 minus 108 is 9. Drop down my 6. And 12 goes into 96 8 times. So x is equal to 98. So come back. I'm going to erase all of this to show you the original question. So my answer that I got was 98. The original question said, how long is the shadow for a building that's 168 feet tall? Does that make sense that the shadow is 98 feet tall? If you look at this one, a 36-inch yardstick, was the shadow a little less than that? Yes. So having a shadow of 98 feet for a 168-foot building makes sense. For number 13, I'm going to help you get it set up as a proportion, and then I want you to solve it on your own. It says Oregon is about 400 miles from west to east and 300 miles from north to south. So it looks like we're talking about a rectangle. It's about 400 miles across, and it is 300 miles from top to bottom. If the map shows Oregon as 15 inches tall from north to south, how wide is it on the map? So if that's the real state of Oregon and this is the map, it's saying that it is 15 inches tall. So 15 matches 300. So let's set up our proportion with matching parts. If we do 400 is to 300, I went from this one to this one. This one I don't know. That's what I'm trying to answer. So that would be X goes on top, 15 on the bottom. Perhaps you see that there is a lovely relationship between 15 and 300. I'm going to stop you there and let you finish number 13 on your own. See how far apart it would be on the map, recognizing that on the map we are measuring in inches. That's it. Have a happy spring break. I'm sorry I wasn't here today. I will miss you and look forward to seeing you next Monday. But I do hope that you have a good time and enjoy some time off of school.